Hi everyone, we're at group 15. In this project, we are focusing on the correlation between income, traffic accidents, and weather. Firstly, I'm going to introduce income data. It is obtained from pseudo, and we pre-process it by extracting the columns we need. It is between 2015 and 2016. We're focusing on the median income in each suburb. And from this page, you can see I generated the distribution between each state. And there are New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, West Australia, Tasmania, and North Territory. Because ACT only has one data set in this data, so we include it in others. And this is also the distribution of data. Next, I'm going to talk about the traffic accident. The data is obtained from Australian Road Death Database. It collects the number of fatalities and the traffic accident type. And we extract the data by communicating with an API to fetch and store the data in my local machine. Based on the graph, we can see the frequency of traffic accident in all states. And from the graph, the New South Wales has the largest frequency of traffic accidents, and ACT has the lowest one. However, it's worth to discuss that as ACT is a small state, it may be an outlier in this case. This graph shows the mean of fatalities by state. As you can see, most of the states are around like 1 to 1.15 numbers of mean of fatalities. Next, I'm going to talk about the correlation between income and traffic accidents. Based on the graph, we can see there's little correlation between income and traffic accident in suburbs. However, it's worth notice that when the median income is above 80K, the number of fatalities is lower and most of them is under 4. Next, it will be the correlation between weather and income. In this section, we focus on the rainfall in each suburbs.
Okay, I can. Okay, hello. This is Jigon Kim, and I'm gonna be taking part for correlation between weathers and income with traffic accidents. Okay, so briefly, before we go through talking about the correlation between the weather and income and traffic accident, I just want to briefly talk about what the weather data set is. So weather data is sourced from the Bureau of Meteorology, BOM, a webpage that Australian community can collect weather forecasts, severe weather warnings, observations, and more. From here, we utilize the API tool to collect the latest 72 hours worth of weather observation from the BOM. Now, the weather data set is it was a little bit tricky for us to collect all IDs of the station IDs because that's what we want to know. We wanted to collect the station IDs for each states so that we can compare these states and stations with the other traffic accidents with the income data. However, we did that by collecting all the states ID using a Python script. And with the IDs that we have collected, we were successfully able to collect all the data from the BOM using the 72 hours API. Uh, However, before we mention the correlation that we figured out from the data, we have to mention that the data that we have is only 72 hours worth of data. So the analysis is not as accurate or as confident to tell any correlation or any relationship between others. But for now, that's all we have. So we'll try our best to explain the correlations between them. Okay, first off, I want to start with the correlation between average rainfall and average income by suburb. Okay, the hypothesis was that suburbs could have higher income that have lower rainfalls. So which means that richer peoples live in a better place with better weather conditions. But according to the data set, as you can see, the correlation is minus 0.01, which rarely tells you anything. And the main reason we figure out is because that this data set only 72 hours worth, and there's so many data sets that have mean average rainfall as zero, which means that it has no relationship between the rainfall and income. Uh, Even though we erase the mean of zero, this will still be the same. So I think the correlation graph, the correlation scatter plot will be better if we could collect 2 weeks more of data. However, for now, this definitely shows that there is not much significant correlation between the average rainfall and the average income by suburb. Okay, next. So we wanted to, the other one that we have tried to figure out was the correlation between weather, wind speed, and income. So the previous one was the rain average, the rainfall, but this one is the wind speed, which is both kind of like in the same category, trying to figure out which, like how the weather condition is. Um, However, you can see it from the graph as well. Similarly to the rainfall, the data says only 72 hours. It shouldn't really be showing any correlation, but as you can see, it's minus 0.067, and the average income doesn't really show much correlation to the average wind speed. However, from the observation that we do, you can see that there are some outlier income suburbs that tend to show less wind speed, which is something worth noticing. As you can see, the yellow and the pink on the left top side only takes about 5 to 0 wind speed. So that means that it is more of a better place than the other areas, I can say. Okay, next one. Okay, now I want to show the correlation between weather rainfall and traffic accidents. Well, this one, the hypothesis was that states with more rain will have more traffic accidents, which means the more it rains, the more traffic accident will happen, because we assume that the raining conditions will create more traffic accidents in general. Surprisingly, this data set, we haven't really collected much data set. However, it's still showing a very moderate correlation. The average rainfall and average accident count shows a correlation of 0.47, which is a very moderate correlation and definitely showing that there is some relation between them. However, we must notice that some states have more cars, some states might have more um, driving, populations. So there should be some kind of error on the background. However, we do not have any information of that. So assuming that this will be the only uh, data that we have, we can definitely say that there is a relationship between average rainfall and the accident counts by states. Um, However, the New South Wales is definitely an outlier in this case. They just have tend to have a lot of accidents. Um, by the way, the left side accident counts is not numbers by integer of 0 to 8. It's actually multiplied by 10 powered by 6. You must have to consider that as well. Okay, now Chow will be introducing the correlation between income traffic and the weather.
Yep. So lastly, we are going to talk about the correlation between all three data, income, traffic accident, and weather. In this experiment, we're going to make a hypothesis that there are more fatalities caused by traffic accidents in areas with greater rainfall and lower median income. And we plot a 3D graph for it. However, based on the graph, we can see that there's little correlation between all three data. As you can see for West Australia, it has the largest mean income, low rainfall. However, it has mean accidents around 1.07. And compared to Victoria, which has mean income around 55K and mean rainfall around 60.7, it also has mean income around 1.126, which are similar to the mean accident with West Australia. Therefore, the hypothesis is disproven as we cannot see a clear correlation between all three data.
Okay. Um, just another thing that I wanted to mention about the weather data and the other income and traffic accidents is that, specifically speaking, the data sets do not share the same date, as the weather date is a very live date. We will collect the date every 72 hours using fission, which means that the date is probably 2024 of 5th of May, which is the current time. However, the traffic accident data set is from 2023, and the income data is definitely not from 2020. It's actually from 2021, if I reckon. So these data sets are not exactly the same timeline. So there definitely should be some error when we talk about it. But as we mentioned, if we could collect more data from the server, at least like 2 weeks or maybe a few months more, then we could definitely try to find more correlation between the incomes and the traffic accidents with the weather data. Okay, thank you for listening to our presentation, and that will be it for Group 15.